couple years. So
that's no problem. We can edit it out later. No big deal.
Yeah. No.
So listen, getting to the NFL games today. First of all, Clark, most importantly, I think I'm going to have to eat it on the Giants. I said the Giants were in my not going to make the playoffs list.
Oh yeah.
They're 7-2.
They won again. Who are they playing?
Houston.
Oh, okay.
I think I'm going to have to eat it. So let's do a quick review, okay? Teams that I said are not going to the playoffs, okay? Jets. We'll see. It's iffy.
Yeah.
Patriots. I mean, they're not going to go away, but I feel confident they're not going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I feel pretty confident in that.
Right? Pittsburgh and Houston, obviously.
Yeah.
Right? Washington, Chicago, Detroit, no problem. I had Seattle on my list.
Yeah.
Missed on that one.
They lost today, and so it's I don't think they're going to run away with their division really, because again, like we talk about with the Dolphins and with Tua, over the course of the season, teams figure out what you want to do and they try to take that away, and then you have to be able to counter what they're doing. So I feel like Geno Smith, he's been playing really well. It's like, okay, well, teams are going to kind of catch on to what you're trying to do, and they're going to try to make it tougher. So we'll see if if he can, if Seattle starts having trouble and if they can kind of work their way through it.
Yeah, I mean, look, they lost the game today, and by the way, I'm disgusted with Tampa. We'll get to that in a minute. But I've watched Seattle play too much. They're good. They're good. They're going to make the playoffs. It's the NFC.
Okay.
They're going to have a winning record. I mean, I looked at the Seattle schedule and the Giants schedule. Both teams are going to win 10 games. I mean, they just are. You look at their schedules.
Well, but then you got to think about it. Well, how many teams in the NFC are we talking about, right? There's going to be one team out of the NFC South. Okay. The NFC North, I mean, there's probably going to be one team. So that's 2 playoff spots. So you got 5 left. You got 2 divisions. So you've got Eagles, Giants, Cowboys, and then what's the other? The West. At this point, I guess you would say Seattle and maybe the 49ers.
And San Francisco, yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. So that's like, what, 5? Yeah, that's like 5 teams. Okay, so yeah, I think that's only 5 teams. So it's kind of like, yeah, that's probably, I think the Giants and Dallas, they've got too many wins at this point to miss the playoffs. The Eagles, they're not, they could get the number 1 seed. Okay, so that's 3 teams. The Vikings, 4, and then what I said, the Bucks, 5, and then 2 out of the NFC, out of the NFC West. So, yeah, that kind of makes sense. So, yeah, they're probably going to make the playoffs.
I mean, it's the NFC. I mean, listen, the NFC is really bad, so I get it. Like, there's the teams that are at the bottom or in the middle are all really bad. So, that's just kind of the way it is. But, yeah, I'm going to have to eat it. And, listen, I'll accept being wrong about the Giants because, I mean, I still don't think the Giants are that good anyway.
No, they're playing to their strengths, and they're running the ball a bunch, and they're doing what they should do to try to win games, but they can't really beat any good teams. I mean, they couldn't beat Dallas, had their backup quarterback in, and they couldn't beat them. So,
Yeah, but Seattle is legit. I don't care what happened today. That was some nonsense, Tampa playing their butts off on a game in Germany. And Seattle came back and almost pulled it out. So yeah. So those are, I'm definitely going to have to eat it on that. But Jeff Saturday, the new coach of the Colts, they just won, by the way. They just beat the Raiders. Not that there's any.
Of course they did.
Not that it's a surprise that the Raiders lost, but but we need to talk about this Jeff Saturday hire. What the hell are the Colts doing? Like, is Jim Irsay just turned into Jerry Jones or Al Davis now? Like, what's happening?
All right, I got to be careful how I say this. So, is Jim Irsay, is he hitting the sauce? Like, is he, I'm not making any accusations here, but I just, he's just, I mean, we've always known he's kind of wacky and weird and whatever, but it just...
Well, he is an alcoholic in recovery, so... I just think he's weird. I don't think he has to be on
I don't
anything.
really want to touch that issue anymore. I don't want to say anything. I just saw Dak Prescott throw that touchdown to get him up 28-14. That was a nice throw. I'm still catching up on that game. I don't know what the hell he's thinking. I mean, Jim Irsay's reasoning was like, well, he doesn't have the fear that other football coaches have. It's like, oh, you mean he doesn't really know how to coach? No offense to Jeff Saturday, because I like him as an analyst, and you hear people talk about him and say he's a really good guy, but it's like he doesn't have any experience coaching in the NFL. So,
well, the whole Colts situation is just beyond weird. First, they pull out. Well, number one, they bring in Matt Ryan right behind a crappy offensive line, and then they can't
no
believe
real weapons at wide receiver.
Right, they can't believe that they can't score. Number one, then they decide, you know what, we're going to bench Matt Ryan and we're going to play Sam Ehlinger because he'll do a better job. Then they still can't score, surprisingly. And then, you know what? He decides, I'm going to fire Frank Reich. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take Jeff Saturday from TV at ESPN, and he's going to come in and he's going to coach the team. This is much better off. Now, granted, look, I think people are overreacting a little bit. He's the interim coach.
Right.
What does that mean? Basically they're a team that's kind of given up on the season, and they're, putting a different coach out there, which, if that were the case, I don't know why they played Matt Ryan today. But, so yeah. And then Jim Irsay just comes out with this just ridiculous rationale for why he's bringing in Jeff Saturday. It's insanity. So it's an insult to, all these coaches that have worked their butts off trying to get head coaching jobs for all this time. And, we'll see how it goes, but I find it hard to believe Jeff Saturday is going to be there long term.
Well, yeah, I'll just say this: there's plenty of places you can go to read about and listen to content talking about awful hiring decisions in the NFL, and not just bad hiring decisions in general, but bad hiring of a bad record with diversity and hiring minority head coaches in the NFL. It's obviously a problem. And look, if you're a assistant coach, black or white, minority or not, this is a slap in the face, because now I'm not saying that every single assistant coach actually wants to be a head coach, but many of them do, and they're working hard at their jobs to hopefully get that opportunity. And when, someone gets fired, and then even though he's an interim coach, and obviously it would be much worse if it was a head coach and you got him under contract for like multiple years, but even though it's an interim coach, it's like all these other coaches are working even coaches just that are already on the staff, they're working their butts off to try to get head coaching jobs, and you just go, oh no, I'm just going to hire this guy. And it's just kind of a slap in the face, and it's total bullshit, now I will say that sometimes people say, well, these owners are racist and whatever. I don't know about that. I mean, I just think a lot of these owners are morons. They just make some of the decisions these guys make are just moronic, not just in the NFL, but just in general in professional sports. A lot of them I'm just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? So yeah, it's just, it's, I love Jeff Saturday's press conference. Okay.
We had a little technical difficulties there. Go ahead, Clark. What were you saying?
I don't. Oh, okay. Yeah. So the Colts have had the most wins in the last 20 years or something like that. And it's like, yeah, you had Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck, and you screwed up on Andrew Luck. You didn't build a good enough offensive line around him. So then he got hurt so many times. He's like, fuck this. I'm gonna retire rather than come back to this team. And the last few years, the stuff they've been doing with the quarterback. It was on the Ringer thing. I think it was Ben Zolak. He said, Chris Ballard, the GM for the Colts, was like, well, we don't want to necessarily, you don't necessarily have to, put all your chips in and get some rookie quarterback. You don't have to draft some quarterback to try to be the solution for your team. That isn't always the best solution. And he's like, what if you get that wrong? Then everybody will be criticizing you. And the guy on the Ringer said, like, yeah, but that's the job.
Right.
Which is just a brilliant point. It's like, yeah, dude, you have to get a really good quarterback. So sometimes you got to put all your chips in and go, this is our guy, and let's see if we get him. And if you don't, yeah, you get fired. That's how it goes. Like, what do you want?
Well, anyway. And they tried that. They brought in Phillip Rivers. They brought in Carson Wentz. They brought, they're trying to do that. They're just picking the wrong guys. Yeah, I think that and you're right. That is the job. Your job is to try to figure out how to win games, regardless of who criticizes you or what else they say. Your job is to be right.
Yeah.
You need to be, So, yeah, I mean, and I was listening to Mike Lombardi about this, and he's like, "Look, you had one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, and you only won one Super Bowl. You know why? You built a team that couldn't play outdoors." He was like, "That's why you didn't win more." And he's like, you notice Peyton Manning and Bill Polian didn't come out right away and like, no, Saturday's legit. You notice they didn't do that? Because they know. Now Bill Polian did come out and make a statement after that said, that basically is, but it was very vague. He didn't say, he thinks Jeff Saturday is going to be a great coach,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a slap in the face, but billionaires are going to do what billionaires are going to do. Unfortunately, look at the Dan Snyder situation. They're finally getting to the point where maybe they can get rid of him. And Irsay's one of these owners. He's owned the team forever, so I'm not sure what you're supposed to do. I love how these guys his dad was not didn't come up in football. He was a businessman who bought the team. Okay. Irsay learned, I love these guys who don't know anything about football, have no football background whatsoever. And because they own the team and have been there forever, that means they know football.
Well, and the other thing is, I mean, before the Colts drafted Peyton Manning, when I guess Jim Irsay's father owned the team, in the 80s and 90s, they were horrible. When they first moved to Indianapolis, they were terrible. So, yeah, I don't, there's not a lot of, I trust that they're going to fix this. I mean, they just happened to be bad those 2 years where they could draft Peyton Manning and then they could draft Andrew Luck. And by the way, you were so bad that one year because Peyton Manning got hurt and your team was god awful. You could only win 2 games. So,
yeah. By the way, Green Bay has just scored to try to tie the game with 2.5 minutes to go.
No, okay.
So this might be a really exciting finish. But anyway, so let's move on to Tampa. I'm disgusted with the whole Tampa thing. Like I like Tom Brady. I am a Patriot hater. I am not a Tom Brady hater. I think it's perfectly fine. You want to come back and play, ruin your marriage? Go right ahead. It's up to you. But what I will say is this is a travesty that they're 5-5, and they beat Seattle today. They somehow beat the Rams last week. This is a travesty that they're 5-5. They're going to get into the playoffs at 8-9. Okay, they're going to play a home game. They're probably going to play a home game against Dallas. Okay, and then they're going to go on the road and play against Jalen Hurts or Kirk Cousins. Okay, like this is absolutely ridiculous. I love Nick Wright's take on this earlier this week. He laid out the whole scenario that I just laid out, how Tampa could sleaze their way into the Super Bowl, and he's like, and I'm going to lose my mind. And I'm of the same mind. I'm tired of this. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, you cannot win the worst division of all time and then claim it's incredible. It's incredible. Well, Brady wins. You know why, Clark? Because Brady always wins. Even when he loses, he still wins.
Well, I'll tell you this. Brady, he's done so many different things in his career. This year I was thinking would be the finishing under 500 year because he's never done that, which could happen. It's still in play, But so there's that. There could also be the what was I going to say? The making the playoffs under 500, winning a playoff game under 500, like being an awful playoff team and still win it. Which I guess I don't know. I guess the Patriots, maybe there's a few years there where you could argue they were pretty bad and they still were able to win a playoff game. But they're not that good. I mean, you watch it; they only scored 21 points today. They're not that good, but and I do think it's kind of funny that people when you're going into an NFL season, when you're listening to people do preseason predictions, listen to like really what they talk about and listen to what details they get into, because I don't know if Todd Bowles is a really good coach, because he was a coach before and it didn't work, and they just lost a bunch of games. Byron Leftwich were all like, oh, he's a great offensive coordinator. Okay, what's going on this year? Now granted, some of that is injuries, but they've got the receivers back. The offensive line still isn't that good. So yeah, I just find it kind of funny that some people were thinking, oh, well, they'll just pick up where they left off. Not really. You can't just say we're going to take this guy out, have injuries, and then we're just going to pick up right where we left off. So,
right, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The division is so terrible.
It really doesn't matter because they're not that good, and it's not going to matter. Because it's like, look, do I trust the Bucs? No. Do I trust the Falcons? I mean, I got to trust the Bucs more than the Falcons, right? I mean, Tom Brady can at least throw the ball. Marcus Mariota, they're basically hiding him. They're like, here, run the ball. Don't throw it too many times. So,
well, yeah, listen, Tampa's defense is good. Like, if we're going to complain about stuff, we got to be honest. Tampa's defense is good. It's good.
Yes.
But do I think that they're going to scoring 20 points a game? Do I think they're going to beat any of these teams? Like, it just, I said that about Dallas. I mean, Dallas's defense would give the Bucs a serious problem. So even if they get in, it's far from a shoe-in that they would win. But it just feels like that thing. Like, they're going to get, like, it feels like we're going to get after Thanksgiving. We're going to get to December, the last 3 or 4 weeks. Tampa's going to get hot, and it's just, and they're going to get a home playoff game after they're, just kind of a mediocre team the whole year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, it drives me, that drives me a little crazy. But you know what? If NFC teams, if you can't beat them, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's on you. That's kind of on you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the Eagles and the Vikings, and like, you guys need to, you guys need to be able to beat the Bucs, but we'll see.
Speaking of good NFC teams, how about them Minnesota Vikings?
Yeah. With the, I guess they should be buying Josh Allen a beer because he fumbled that snap in the end zone.
Ooh, I mean, that was, by the way, game of the day. I mean, that was incredible. Like, it looked like Minnesota was out of it. They were down by 14. They make a comeback. Buffalo, again, lays an egg in the second half offensively. Can't really do much. Justin Jefferson, I think he's from another planet. The dude is just I hate to, it's like the question that I wrote down is, do you believe in Minnesota now? And it's like, I believe in Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
That's who I believe in. Because good God, that catch was incredible. If you haven't seen it, get on the internet and check that out. One-handed, in between a defender's hands. There are no words. There's just no words. So it was incredible. But yeah, it looked like Buffalo had the game. Then they fumble the ball in the end zone. Minnesota gets it. It's just like they stop Minnesota on the goal line 4 times and then a penalty. So 5 times they stop them on the goal line. It was just, yeah. And then Minnesota manages to win it in overtime. Josh Allen throws two interceptions basically in the end zone. One in the fourth quarter and one in overtime. I mean, and I think, Josh Allen gives you the really, really highs, really high highs, and gives you some lows.
Well, Nick Wright is going to have a field day tomorrow because he's been on this for like 2 years in close games. Josh Allen just, he clams up and he screws it up. There was a game, I don't remember, was it last year? I think it was last year. They were playing Tennessee and he was trying to do a quarterback sneak and he tripped or something, so he couldn't get the ball into the end zone. And then here he fumbles the snap. So, yeah, Nick Wright's going to have a field day tomorrow on First Things First. But, yeah, the Bills, and I don't want to do the whole Colin Cowherd thing. Like, I've seen the Bills win close games, and, I don't want to keep going back to this, but they basically won that playoff game last year, or at least Josh Allen did, so I'm not going to totally rip him. And the Dolphins game this year, for those of you who haven't lived in South Florida or been down here when it's really hot, like, you do not understand how hot it is down here and how long they were on the field under the sun. So I'm not really going to rip the guy for that. I've seen Mahomes throw bad interceptions. I've seen Mahomes have bad games. Mahomes threw an interception to end the game against the Bills earlier this year. So I'm not going to really get into that. The Bills are still a really good team. And, look, could they I would probably still pick them to win the division, but it's, hey, the Dolphins still got a shot at it. I think it was an incredible ending to the game.
It's what we said at the beginning of the season. Buffalo's really good. They're going to be really tough to beat, but they are beatable. They're not a juggernaut. There's no team in the NFL that's like, oh my God, we can't.
The Chiefs are beatable too. Yeah, I mean, so are the Eagles, so are the Vikings, so are the Cowboys, so are a lot of the Ravens, the Bengals, the Dolphins. They're beatable. So
I give Minnesota credit. They hung in there on the road in a tough environment and found a way to pull out a win. And
Yeah.
you know, they get credit for that. And Buffalo. And the thing is, Buffalo's defense played well. Justin Jefferson is just insane. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're supposed. Not sure what you're supposed to do. You know. So I listen. I think Minnesota's tough. You know, they're a tough team. Do we all believe in Kirk Cousins in the playoffs? I don't know. But, you know, they're going to be playing at least one, maybe two playoff games at home.
Yeah, if they're playing 2 playoff games at home, and then, I mean, just the thing is, though, you look around the NFC, like, you know, again, I still have an issue with Kirk Cousins in primetime and Kirk Cousins in playoff games, although he has won a playoff game, and he did make some good throws in that game. But, I mean, look, I'm supposed to trust Dallas. I'm trying to think of everybody besides the Eagles. I'm supposed to trust Dallas. I'm supposed to trust the Giants. I'm supposed to trust the Bucks. I'm supposed to trust who's left? The 49ers. You know, the Seahawks, I don't really know. But if they win that division, you know. But, I mean, the Seahawks, like, did the Seahawks play the Vikings this year? I don't think they did.
I don't know.
Yeah, but anyway, it's like yeah, the Vikings, look, they got as good a shot at anybody in the NFC. I mean, the NFC's just kind of wide open. I don't really know who's really got the, you know, I mean, the Eagles kind of have the inside track to the number 1 seed, but beyond that,
listen, if you're giving me Seattle with a home playoff game, or Philadelphia or Minnesota with a home playoff game, there's a lot to like.
Well, especially
There's
Minnesota,
a lot to like.
Dalvin Cook, if he's running like that's, you know, that can be tough to beat. So
we talked about Justin Jefferson. He's a freak show. Speaking of other freak shows, Justin Fields. Wow. You know, first of all, he lit the Dolphins' ass up last week for 178 yards rushing. He had a couple of plays today that are just insane. There's nothing, you know, there's nothing you can do if you're the defense. And yeah, it was just, he's a freak. You know, he made a play where, you know, he was getting tackled, gets out of the tackle, runs around. Then he made like a 65 or 70 yard, you know, touchdown. Like it's nuts, but that's the funny part about it. So Justin Fields had 147 yards rushing this week. So he's got over 300 yards rushing in 2 weeks, but you know, he was 12 for 20, 167 yards, a touchdown and 2 touchdowns and an interception. It's, you know, is Justin Fields like arrived as a quarterback who's going to beat you from the pocket? No, you know, but he makes a lot of plays. And if I'm a Bears fan, I'm really excited today. And honestly, it's the best situation in the world for Bears fans. They can see that their quarterback is really exciting. He can make plays, and they lost again. They just keep on moving up the draft board, you know. So, but it was insanity. The other note that I had was that, we can cross the Denver Broncos off. I think it's done. I think it's finished. They lost to Tennessee today. Tennessee finally got Tannehill back, but not that makes a whole
it's not that Tennessee's going to score a bunch of points or whatever. They're just going to try to grind the game out and try to find some way to win. The Denver's just, I don't know what's going. They're just not good.
I mean, Tampa can at least score 20 points most of the time. Denver, I mean, it's hard for them to get more than 10. Yeah. So it's really bad. It looks like Green Bay and Dallas might be going to overtime.
Oh wow.
But yeah, that was my last note on the NFL Sunday. I mean, you know, the Cardinals and the Rams played in a backup quarterback showdown. I mean, that was pretty pathetic. Colt McCoy against John Wolford, and the Rams lost. So I think honestly the Rams might be a cross off pretty quick here. If not this week, probably next week. And you know, the Colts managed to pull out a win against the Raiders, which, hey, you know, maybe we should all shut up about Jeff Saturday. Who knows?
Yeah, we'll see.
But regardless, that was my last note on the NFL. Anything else you want to?
No, I don't think so. How many? What do we got? We got 8 games left.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're right at the halfway mark of
most teams have. Well, no. Some teams have 7 games left.
Okay, right.
You know, the Dolphins have 7 games left. The teams that haven't had their bye yet have 7 games left.
Right.
So we'll see how it goes. Dolphins. The Dolphins are not going to lose next week. I'll go ahead and lay that out. Predict that right now.
They're on a bye week, so it'd be pretty hard to lose.
That's right. They're not playing, so you can't lose games that you don't play. The Dolphins are 100% on those games. So, but we got Houston the week after that. So it'll be nice to have a bye week to just sit and root against the Bills and root against the Patriots and the Jets, even though the Patriots and the Jets play each other next week.
I think I root for the Patriots in that scenario.
I mean, for the division, yeah, it makes sense, but I'm of the mind I don't really believe in the Jets anyway, so let's just get the Patriots out of the way.
Yeah, there's time for that. Let's beat up on let's get the Jets out of the way first. But we'll see.
All right, so let's move on to college football. My first overall take, I just want to get this out there. We talked about the college